Today we're going to set up the Wyze Cam Pan V3, and I'm going to take you on a walkthrough of the settings and some of the features in Wyze's app so you can get this camera working well for you. Now when you open up the box, you'll find a lot of different components and it could be overwhelming. There are some mounting screws and wall anchors, and there is an included wall mount that attaches to your Pan Cam V3. The two screws and potentially the wall anchors go into this side of the wall mount, while a second screw that looks more like a bolt goes into the other side of the wall mount and then screws into the bottom of your Pan Cam V3. There's also quite a long USB cable that's made especially to go into the bottom of your camera and provide power. That cable will also connect to a USB adapter that you get. And there's also a quick start guide and usually a couple of stickers that say you supported Wyze's new product. I would suggest that before you start the setup process in Wyze's app that you bring your camera near to the location where you'll be mounting it and start the setup process there so that you know if the Wi-Fi signals are going to reach your camera and keep it online going forward. Now once you have everything powered on and you're ready to go, then you can start that setup process in the Wyze app, which is what we're going to do next. I'm just going into the Wyze app. You'll need an account. So the first time you open the Wyze application, you'll need to sign up for an account. But then you can go into the plus and then you can see I went into cameras and we're looking for the Wyze Cam Pan V3. The other models look quite a bit different, so you're going to recognize that right away. Now they want the red light on the front of this device sitting there flashing red. Then what you're doing is you're selecting your Wi-Fi network. You can only use 2.4 gigahertz networks with this camera, and if you've already saved your credentials in there, then they will already be there. Otherwise you got to type in your password for your Wi-Fi. Now we have to hit the setup button, which is right there. There we go.
Ready to connect.
There we go. So now we're ready to hit that and then hit next. Now they want you to scan this code, and I'm just gonna point the camera. Now that I've heard it scan, I hit the next button and I had to check off the little box there that said I had heard that. And now it's just starting the initialization. It's connecting this to Wi-Fi, and what they've done is, you know, between my phone and this, they passed information. Now you'll need Bluetooth on your phone turned on and able to connect to the camera. So you don't want any interference sources around your camera or your phone as you do this, and you just want to keep things generally clear and fairly close to where your router is going to be. Now you can purchase a subscription called Cam Plus. It's not a very expensive subscription, but for right now, just so I can show you what you get with the camera without that, I'm going to continue without it. Now you can share any of Wyze's cameras with your family members and really anyone you'd like. What you do is you hit that little plus button and you put in their email address, and as you do that, they'll get an email to go and accept that invitation. They'll have to sign up for a Wyze account if they don't already have one, but if they do, they're just going to be able to tap on that and get access to your camera. Now let's have a look at the mounting guide. So we have the binding screw, and you can see that we also have some wall anchors and some bracket screws there. So that's coming with the mounting bracket. We're going to hit next, and you can see that's actually where you're putting the screws through here. So the first thing you're going to be doing is drilling the holes for these to go in. They are telling you to use a 6mm drill for these to drill the holes for that, and then insert. So you're going to want to stick this on the wall. You can see they had it mounted kind of like that, and you're going to drill through here with that 6mm drill bit. And then your screws are going through, and you can see it's at the top of this mount or the bottom, but not in the middle, because then your screws are going right through. Now you can leave a little bit as you screw these in to the wall. You can leave a little bit of space so that you could push the mount onto those. And now they're just showing you how to thread the power cable through. So let me show you how to do that. And then it's plug in, and that's it. Now this binding screw goes through the top here and connects into the bottom of your Wyze Cam. One of the things you'll find as soon as you're done getting this camera set up is that they ask you to upgrade your firmware. Do that each and every time with your Wyze Cams. It just helps you in all cases. So now we've got our Wyze Cam Pan V3 sitting in our account, and we can go to the actual feed. You can see me sitting right here, and I have all kinds of controls on the page. Now, the very first thing you're gonna want is that you can press and turn the camera, plus you can tilt up and down as you see fit. Oh, look at that. That is quite some depth, but you can see that I'm seeing the edge as I get close to there. And this is actually how privacy mode looks on this camera. So let me show you that. As we're sitting here, you can see all these buttons right here, and I can put it into privacy mode. The camera turns totally down. Now we don't see a view, and we see the last view that the camera had, and there's privacy mode turned off. Now it reloads the live stream, and there's a number of controls on the live stream. If you've placed an SD card in the camera, then here you go. Here's where you're going to put your SD card, and you just pop open this little thing right here, and there's where your SD card goes. If you'd like to, you can take a photo of anything and you can start a recording, and at any point you can stop that by pressing on there or there. And that's actually saving to my camera roll on my phone in most cases. Now I'm noticing here that this was recorded. Let's see. Yes, so it has been recorded to my phone. There you go, and all those pictures have been taken as well. So you can go between the videos and the photos there. Now you may not know, but this has a siren. There's also the ability to track motion, but you're gonna have different success based on where your object is, how far away the camera is. So, you know, you gotta test that out for yourself, but this can move quite quickly, and it is going to be able to follow most people, but you'll find it a little bit like it'll move in little amounts. So your subject may kind of move throughout the screen a little bit in a jumpy way. Time lapses can be really useful. A lot of people really enjoy them because you can make these longer videos that just are pictures every few seconds. Now here's a pan scan. There you go. So it's moving through different waypoints. We can actually set additional waypoints, and then the camera will move through those exact waypoints. Now, the way to do that is by hitting that little edit button right there. So you can see we can set different waypoints, and what we want to do is move to the spot. So we'll hit the plus. Now we'll move there, we'll hit there, and it's gonna wait at each one at 10 seconds. So now there's also a button for the album right here, so if you ever want to reach that, you can do that. Now, there's other things that you can do on this page, and the first one is you can actually change what the quality of video that's piping through here, through the camera to the application is. So you can move from HD, SD to all the way down to 360p. You can also hit this to listen. And you can hit this to communicate with the person on the other side of the camera. Hello?
Hello? Hello?
You can hear that speaker. It's really good, really clear coming out of the Pan Cam. The other thing you can do is you can turn the whole thing on its side, and now you get all those same controls again. Here's all of those different things that we were doing with the camera. They're just in this 3-dot segment, so you just have to tap on the screen. You can change from your different qualities, and you do have your microphone and your listening, or your ability to listen to what's going on the other side of this camera. You can always go back, and that lets you get back to this page. You do have one other thing on this page, and that is the recent events. Now, this is going to be based on some of the settings that I'm going to walk you through here, and you can also filter those events that are showing up on that page in case you don't want to see certain kinds of ones that have been recording. But right now, we don't have anything captured, so let's deal with that from a settings perspective. Now, you can change the name of this camera anytime. You don't have to live with what you put in initially, but where you kind of want to look at things, if you're trying to modify how this is recording, what it's recording, you want to look in detection settings, event recordings, and advanced settings. So let's go through those. They're pretty simple to go through. You can change the motion and the sound sensitivity. In a lot of cases, I turn down the sound sensitivity just because it can be a little aggressive. Now, motion tagging is the little green box that comes up whenever you're looking at footage and motion has been detected. You will see that little green box show up. This can help you to diagnose if you're picking up things that you don't want to see or events that you don't want to capture. It already helped me diagnose basically a pole moving in the wind that I don't want to catch, and then I can turn down that sensitivity. The other thing you might want to do is set a detection zone. So, for example, I had that pole in the middle of my screen, and I can take that out. Now, what you're actually kind of doing here is you're just coloring in and out segments. So right now, I have 2 segments that I would capture motion detection within. Now, that is obviously based on where the camera is sitting right now. And you can see this. If I want to move the camera, detection zone is enabled, and my camera will return to this exact position after 15 seconds being idle. So you can set those detection zones for a single location or a single view that you want this to kind of default to. So you can see I can move it, and now after 15 seconds, because I'm not going to touch it, it's going to go back, and then my detection zones would obviously be set correctly again. But that allows you to move the camera in case you want to review what's around, and there you go, it went back. Now, if you don't want the detection zone, you just turn it off like that. So those determine where and how often you're going to record an event. But even if you set all of those settings and you don't have these enabled, so that's motion events and that's sound events, if those are not turned on, you're not going to record any events from this camera, even though it will detect them. So you can see now it's starting to pick up motion events. I'm sure it'll pick up sound events as we go. Now, I've just said all motion events for right now, but unfortunately, if you want any of those smart detection events, which is person, package, vehicle, or animals, you have to have Cam Plus. Now that's not a real expensive subscription, but obviously that's required. Now you can look at all the different types of detections that you can get with this camera. You don't have to necessarily turn on that feature to see it. Here are the different detection types that you can do. And when you hit one of those, it'll tell you, hey, you don't have Cam Plus on here. They have single camera plans or unlimited, where you can apply it to all of your cameras. So if you get a bunch, that might make sense for you, either an annual or a monthly plan, depending on how many cameras you're gonna put around your home. All of these are Cam Plus detection required, and even these beta ones are requiring that. So for now, I'm just gonna leave it like that. We're gonna record the motion events, and I'm gonna show you what that looks like. So here are my recent events. They're now full with a number of events, but you see this little icon right here? That's a picture icon. So that's all I have from a recording standpoint, is that. Now, if you have an SD card in this camera at that point, you'll get a little SD card icon here. Instead of 3 icons, it'll be 4. So you could download any clip. If you've recorded a clip, you can hit that download button. You can also hit the share to send it to another service or someone else. And if you don't like that event, well, hit the delete and then it goes away and it's not cluttering up your feed of events. You can also filter, like I told you, and you can go live to see the live stream. Make sure that's what's going on, or see what's going on at that moment. Now, if you want to get all of your events from this, here's how you can do it. There's an events button down at the bottom, and now I can see all of my events from all of my different cameras. I can go into them and I can review. Now again, if you have an SD card, you can hit this little playback button and it will take you to that event as it was recorded on your SD card, and that's where the settings for your SD card really matter. The next things that control how your camera operates and how it records are in these other advanced settings. So the night vision mode, you can either leave it in automatic, where the camera will just pick when it needs night vision and IR lights on the camera, which I'll show you in a moment. So here's the camera, and you can see those 4 IR lights are turned on because I've put the camera into on. Now if I turn it off, you can see those went off. Now those special lights are intended to illuminate things in the dark, and because it's dark in here right now, I can turn it to auto. Eventually those IR lights should come on. Now you can have night vision on, but no IR lights. And one of the things that was kind of keeping the IR lights off was that my night vision conditions were in dark, not dusk. So dusk is obviously not going to be as dark as this. This is extreme low light, and then this is just kind of regular low light. So you're saying, you know what, in my certain situation, I want those IR lights and that night vision mode to come on when it's just dusk. So you can change those around as you see fit, but maybe you're good without the night vision IR lighting at all. You can actually turn that off, and then those IR lights will never come on this camera. And you can see this is exactly why you would do this. If this was pointed through glass, you don't want those IR lights coming on. That's because they actually get reflected back. Now, if you didn't want anyone to know that your camera was actually there, and you thought it might help you to turn off the status light, you can do that just like that. If you mount this camera upside down, you'll probably want to rotate the image 180 degrees. That's how you do that. And then all the footage is going to come in at that 180 degrees rotated. You could always rotate after the fact, so it's not always a big deal. But do you want a timestamp on your recordings? You have that on or off. And do you want the Wyze logo? I usually turn that off. And the final thing is recording sound. So do you want any sound recordings on any of your footage that you're recording, you can actually turn that off. Now, if you're finding the timestamp to be wrong, you can always hit this synchronize time right here. The next thing you might care about is how many of these notifications you're getting. So you can see I'm getting a lot of notifications, and you can modify how this camera comes out with those notifications and how the app does. The first place is within notifications. If I hit that, I can turn off all of the notifications from this camera, period. I'm not going to get any when it detects motion or sound. And if I'd like, I can individually turn off one type of notification. There are a couple of alarm settings. So this can listen to standard T3 or T4 alarm sounds. If you'd like to detect those and then have a notification, you can turn on this radio button. And if you want the carbon monoxide alarm sounds, there you go. You can find out about those through the Wyze app. Now, the other place that you can get notifications or manage notifications in the app is over here in the account section. And when you head down to notifications here, you have a number of different ones. The one you probably care the most about is this push notifications. We can turn off the entire app from here. So that would include all of your cameras. You can see there's my Wyze Cam Pan 3. And there's that screen we were just in that allows me to turn off the entire application from that push notification. These other notification segments, they're mostly promotions and things like that. So whether you want text notifications for news and promos, you can turn those on. That's a little bit different. So from a notification standpoint, that should get you squared away with the Wyze Cam Pan V3. However, there's a couple more settings that you'll want to pay attention to with this camera. And, you know, if you're not tracking people through a space, if you're not tracking them very well, there's actually a setting here in advanced settings that you can adjust in order to help with that. And it's here towards the top. It's the motor controls. And you can move them all the way from very slow, if you're finding the motion is too jerky for you, all the way to very fast. And when you're doing the pan scan, here's those settings again. Now you can also, at any point, reset the position. So what that just did is it recalibrated where this device could move. So if you're finding you're not able to get all the way around, or you're not able to pan or tilt all the way up or down, you might want to just hit that reset button. The other thing you'll want to know about are some of the automation options with this camera. And to do that, you can go into the rules here and we can create different rules. Plus we can see the history of things succeeding or failing. There you go. There's a failure. There's a failure. Here's all these successes going on. You can also explore some of their preset rules. You can ask to see more. They have a number of ones that they kind of pre-created. You just have to fill in a couple of details, and that might help you with this specific camera or another Wyze product. There are a number of different types of rules you can create in the application. A shortcut, you're just tapping. It's actually at the top of the Wyze application. Schedule is based on a time. A device trigger is based off of another device or potentially your Wyze Cam Pan. And a location trigger is based on you have to give this application access to know when you've returned home or left home. It's a GPS based thing. And they'll basically run something. They'll run a rule when you get home if you do that. So I'm going to show you a device trigger because actually this, the pan cam can be on either the device trigger or the action side of any of these routines. Now if you're using it as a device trigger, here are the options you have access to. So you can see it's just the motion, it's the sound, it's the smoke and CO alarm sounds. And then if you have Cam Plus, you get those extra types of triggers for events or for rules to run. On the action side, there's a lot more you can do with Wyze's cameras, and this is no different. So you can turn on and off the camera. It doesn't fully power down the camera when you turn it off because they still have to keep it alive to be able to receive the next turn on signal. If you want to take a video because something else has happened in your home, say you have the Wyze door lock and it unlocks, well, maybe you want to upload a short video to the cloud at that moment just to see who's coming in the door. You get a 12-second clip. Unless you have something like Cam Plus, you should get a longer clip then. You can turn on and off the motion detection on this camera. So that's from your detection settings. You can actually manage that on a regular basis if you want to only have motion detection turned on when you've left the home. And that's something that I think a lot of people are going to do. So you could use that location trigger to turn on and off motion detection based on people being home. At any point, if you want, you can restart the camera or reset the position, which you saw me do, where it just kind of made sure that it was in the right spot. You can turn on and off the notifications from this device. So at night, maybe you want to turn off the notifications, and when you wake up in the morning, you want to turn them back on. It's up to you how you manage your home. Now you can also, based on potentially some other devices or even just a shortcut, you could turn on the siren for this device. Now, one of the nice things about that is, okay, I have a number of cameras, so if I really want to get rid of someone who's in my house, I can turn on all the different sirens based on one trigger or one shortcut button. The last couple of things in the settings for the Wyze Cam V3 is the device info and the Wyze support. If you need some help with the camera, you can get that. The device info tells you how the signal strength is. This is sometimes very useful for people to know how good the Wi-Fi signal is where they're at. So if you're finding disconnections or you're finding your camera's not responding to some of those rules, you're finding in that history that things are failing, you may want to have a look at the Wi-Fi signal, how good that is. If you want to share with any of your friends and family, you didn't do it during initial setup like me, well, you can share right there with a new user. You just put in their email account. And finally, you can restart the camera. That'll do the full reboot process on it. That might help you if it's kind of stuck or you're not getting good responses from it. And you can, of course, delete the device and start the whole setup process again. Now that you have the Wyze Cam Pan V3 set up and working in the app, you might want to do more with your Wyze cameras. You can do things like install SD cards, create automations or rules, and learn all about the performance of these cameras with the playlist that's up on screen. So check that out. Otherwise, thanks for watching today, and of course, don't hate, automate.